Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and Robert Jenrick has just highlighted the danger of throwing stones from glass houses in politics after insisting that if you lie on your CV, you should resign. Labour have pointed out that Robert Jenrick has lied on his CV, and just to emphasise that he had indeed lied on his CV, he's now changed it. So is he also resigning? No, not a bit of it. So Robert Jenrick has now given Labour some very easy to use ammunition against any Tory who continues to make a fuss. But first, for daily political commentary, please hit the subscribe button to stay notified. So it's not for no reason that people in Labour call Jenrick Honest Bob. He's one of the most dishonest politicians in frontline politics today. I think the moniker came about when he sold out the taxpayer to the tune of tens of millions of pounds in return for basically a free lunch with a property developer. More recently, when he's not reminding us that he'd be an even worse Conservative leader than Kemi Badenoch, just you wait if he gets his chance, he has been jumping on the bandwagon of attacking Labour ministers for inconsistencies in their CV without any thoughts for the blatant lie on his own. Now, I'm not going to defend inaccuracies on CV or biographies or anything like that, by the way, but let's just look at the complaints here. So they're complaining that Rachel Reeves said she worked at a particular bank for a few months more than she really did. Okay. Did she work at that bank and in the capacity she claims? Yeah. And she worked there for several years, just a few months less than her LinkedIn profile suggested. Yeah. Now, yes, at the top of politics, you should be really careful about accuracy like this. But was she trying to derive any personal benefit from claiming that a job she did actually have lasted a few months longer than it actually did? No, how could she? Any of us who've done a LinkedIn profile, you're just going, oh yeah, I did that, and that. You don't necessarily think to yourself, oh, did I get that right to the correct month? Then there's Business Secretary Jonathan Reynolds. He claimed, same thing, LinkedIn profile, he claimed to have worked as a solicitor. And the Tory press have pointed out, hang on a minute, you started training as a solicitor, but you never qualified, you've lied. And it's like, okay, but did he just make up a job then? No, he did actually work at a law firm as a solicitor. He was a trainee solicitor, not qualified. Now, I'm not an expert on how this works, but I imagine it works much like in teaching. When I was a trainee teacher, I worked as a teacher. I wasn't qualified. I prepared and taught lessons. I did the same stuff teachers do, not necessarily as well, and not as much, obviously. And to begin, supervised, to begin with, very supervised. A bit later on, they just move into another room and leave you to it. Did Reynolds claim to have been a qualified solicitor? No, he just claimed to have worked as one, which is sort of true. Now, yes, missing important information. Again, in politics, you should be really careful about everything you put out there. You should think, particularly as a Labour politician, you should think, how would the Tories twist this? Anything you say, anything you write, how will the Tories twist it? You should think about that. But he did work as a solicitor. Again, would he derive any advantage from people thinking he worked as a qualified solicitor? Well, the time spent working at the law firm wouldn't give the impression he was very experienced, and the jobs he had required no legal knowledge. So again, it's hard to see how you would say he derived benefit from trying to mislead people on this. Because again, just like with Reeves, he is claiming he did a job that he actually did. There's just an inaccuracy in it because of missing information. But Robert Jenrick, now he's a boastful man, as is anyone whose ambition exceeds their skills. He boasted of being the joint youngest cabinet minister since the Second World War, tied with Harold Wilson and William Hague. However, both Wilson and Hague were several years younger than Jenrick when they first entered cabinet. And we're not talking about a few weeks or months here. It's not like one of these things where they were both 34 years of age and one of them was just like a few days younger or something. No. Entire years. Jenrick was 37 years old. William Hague was 34 years old. And Harold Wilson, a genuine political prodigy, was 31 years of age. So all those numbers are the same to you, are they, Honest Bob? And you think you should run the country, do you? But then let's apply a couple more tests. So first of all, is this something that is easily done inadvertently? Is this like working from memory like Reeves, or something that's technically true, you just missed out something you should have put in there like Reynolds. No, it's actually impossible for Jenrick to have researched this and made this specific claim. He's specifically cited Harold Wilson, William Hague. Now, I could sort of get if he'd have just said, I'm the joint youngest since the war, because there's been a lot of cabinet ministers in the post-war period. And it's not like there's a place where you can go and find them by the age they first entered cabinet, right? So it would be a hefty process to research that. I could accept you could make an easy mistake if you just say you're the youngest in a particular period. But because he specifically cited the names of two people who were younger when they became cabinet ministers, so that means he must have looked up how old they were at the time. And it's not difficult to look up the age at which a specific politician achieved various positions in politics. This isn't like Jenrick claiming to be a mad Margaret Thatcher fan and then getting wrong the year she became Prime Minister. Like, you can think you're an expert in something without knowing basics just by being thick rather than dishonest. But Jenrick could not have possibly made this specific claim without knowing he was lying. So this is a blatant lie. And the final test, of course, is, did he aim to derive any benefit from it? Well, why would anyone boast about being the youngest holder of some position, right? To claim the role of prodigy and claim that they are wise beyond their years. For anyone concerned about making someone who is still in his early 40s leader of the party, for example. Jenrick wants to be Prime Minister. And he's not all that bothered about being qualified for the role, only convincing others that he is. But, you know, that is politics. So his inaccuracy was written not to give people information about his history and then he missed out some context, but specifically to convince people to give him the job that he wants in future, and he deliberately lied about it. And he said that anyone lying on their CV should resign. Now, Reeves just got a few months wrong. It makes no sense to suggest she did that deliberately, because why would you? It doesn't do you any good. Reynolds is a little bit dodgier, because if you're going to say you worked as a solicitor and you were a trainee, I think you should probably say that. But again, he didn't say anything that was untrue. Jenrick said something that was actually untrue and something he must have known was untrue at the time. So he was the most obviously lying on his CV. When approached, according to the Mirror, someone close to Jenrick had said, "Oh, it's been corrected. Oh, is he resigning?" And I've seen nothing on how they explained he made the false claim in the first place, or why they're not resigning when they insisted others should do so for actually lesser things, or at least the same thing, depending on how you view them. You know, it's like, and it should be easy ammunition for Labour now, this. Like, whenever a Tory or a journalist tries to make an issue of Reeves or Reynolds, and they're not making a big issue because it's really weak, Labour MPs should be responding with something along the lines of, yeah, see, they were claiming to have jobs that they actually did have. There was just some important information easily missed, not there. But Jenrick deliberately lied on his CV. He said something that couldn't possibly be done inadvertently, and yet he hasn't taken his own advice and resigned over it. Go and ask him why not, then come back to me with this. Mind you, there was a good quote from Labour in the article. It's an open secret that Jenrick is on manoeuvres given Kemi Badenoch's bungling leadership, but watching him try to pass off a Labour Prime Minister's achievement as his own is a boast too far. Because that is what he's tried to claim. Because it's not just that he isn't the joint youngest cabinet member since the Second World War. There is no joint youngest cabinet minister in that time. There is a single person who has the accolade. Their nearest challenger, who is also not Jenrick, having been 3 years older. The youngest cabinet minister in the post-war period was Harold Wilson, who beat Jenrick by 6 years. And let's be honest, when Jenrick was promoted to cabinet, it was at the time when Boris Johnson had just become Prime Minister and, by his own admission, only wanted feckless loyalists in his cabinet, he didn't call them that, who he believed wouldn't challenge him. Otherwise, Jenrick would never have been a cabinet minister even to this day. But a stern political lesson there. Do not throw stones from glass houses. Obviously, party politics, demands you make more of a fuss about the opposition than those in your own party. Of course it does. But if you're going to do it, make sure you're not obviously guilty of doing the same thing. And if you give an explicit statement of circumstances under which a person should resign, which politicians do all the time, maybe do it when you're not in those same circumstances yourself. because Jenrick has now weakened his own party's attack line, which was pretty weak to begin with, but now completely benign. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the like button and subscribe for further content. If you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.